Hello, hello, everyone. Hello, this is Lisa Alvarez. I am going to be working on something really special for today. But first, I'm going to make sure I can share this and ensure everybody knows that I'm going live in other parts. But today, I'm going to be conducting a live tarot reading for the storytelling crowdfund that I'm creating because people have decided to push us past 50% quite a bit early. I am part of my incentive is that I would actually conduct a tarot reading to predict or at least give some information about what I need to know continuing on in this crowdfund because whenever we reach our uh, goal, which is $3,200 by Halloween, however, whenever we reach that, this is going to continue on. And I want to kind of get a perspective. Part of the crowdfunding campaign has been using a lot of this concept of tarot and imagery as uh, prompt for story, prompt for action, even. So, I have what let's see. I have a couple of different places that I need to be sharing this with. So, as I continue to post this, there's another aspect of this live stream that I want to make clear, and that is that it doesn't matter when you are watching this or listening to this. This is a bit of a collective tarot reading too. I invite those who watch this or listen to this afterwards as well to lend me your own perspective, your own energy. When it comes to magic, when it comes to story, it tends to transcend time. At least that's my experience. So let's see. First, make sure I have this all set up correctly. And I will be showing the cards as I pull them. And one of the things that I'm going to be doing is figuring out which actual format. There's many of different format to tarot readings. And for a crowdfund, I don't know, like please let me know in the comments if you have ever conducted a tarot reading on a crowdfund before, because I certainly have not. And what format you would suggest. Usually it's, the Celtic cross spread is a good go-to. That's the first thing that's coming to mind. But I I'm I feel like there needs to be something a little bit more in depth, or more specific maybe. I'm gonna get just let it play it by ear. That's what this whole crowdfund has been kind of playing it by ear. Um, but what's a little chaos? You kind of need a little chaos in storytelling, right? So the deck that I am using is the Rider-Waite Coleman deck. And it's my personal deck. And because this crowdfund is quite personal in terms of my work, I decided this is probably the right deck to use. And it also has a lot of the symbolism that I tend to use for a lot of my work. And I've studied. This is when I've studied tarot. It is with this deck that I study under. So I have a lot of associations and connections with the images in this deck, specifically compared to other decks. It's interesting too because I didn't really plan this all the way through. I'm getting a sense of I need some mood lighting. I got this candle out of Target. but it smells really good. It's black honey vanilla. It's a soy wax, but I've charged it specifically for this crowdfund, so might as well light it for mood lighting as well. Something to get me grounded and centered while I do this. One of the things that when I started thinking about this crowdfund and pulling together the aspects of it, it's interesting because somebody did mention to me or ask me from the Tales from the Hearth, uh, because I've been doing collective tarot readings to create folk tales, why I'm using tarot and whether or not I've used it in my other stories. And the answer is no, I actually have not used tarot significantly in my storytelling practice. But and I'm working on a video to post tomorrow, actually, a short video to post tomorrow to talk about a little bit more about why tarot has, in my experimentation with it in making folk tales as a writing prompt, is really aligned with what I with my creative work, and it's something that I've discovered for myself. And the storytelling crowdfund too has is bringing up a lot of lessons for me and a lot of encouragement for my own experimentation. You know, we I was just talking about this with a friend that we tend to, in in our culture especially, and this is something that frustrates me a lot with prestige television and a lot of these streaming services, and it's something that comes out a lot, is that there's just not a lot of risk taking when it comes to stories lately. It feels like the recycling of IP is the instinct of Wall Street investors and stockholders, not of artists. It's not the type of truth telling nor the type of exploration and creativity that you should expect from creatives in your society. And for me, being forced to look at random images in a deck of cards, pulling them randomly and assigning them meaning is exposing myself to a little bit of vulnerability and a little bit of unpredictability, a bit of risk. And I think that's something that I want. That's the kind of storyteller I want to be. I want to be able to develop my craft thoughtfully, develop my skills, um, not leave everything up to chance or just throwing things up against the wall, but still having that creative spark that's that space for chaos, maybe. So, all right. While I've been ranting on, I've been shuffling my cards gently. I'm not a professional card shuffler, so I think we're gonna go with the Celtic cross spread here because that's the goats. That's a good structure for any question of a big systemic what's going on and what do I need to know and um, what's just happened and what am I aiming for and what am I afraid of and what the outcome is. So, and that's the only one thing that's truly actually coming to mind. So we'll go with that. Um, Before I start, I'm going to give myself a moment to ground, center myself, because yes, I am a little bit nervous. Because who wants to, you know, open a random prediction for crowdfunds? Apparently, I do, but just because it's there's a part of me of like it'll be fun because it's nonsense, but there's the other side of me that it's going to be scary because what if all the cards turn out dark and Oh yeah, you're good. Like, all the cards that have to do with poverty and losing money and that this is yeah, this was a mistake the whole time. Like that's of course that's an easy answer of where this is going to go. But then, what is as equally terrifying is every single card being like, "Yep, you're going to get start swimming in gold coins like Scrooge McDuck," which strangely enough, you also that also doesn't feel good to get. Maybe that's just my own issues. So, with all that let out, let's ask this deck what the heck is going on with this crowdfund, what it has been doing, what it is doing, what it's going to do, and what I need to know about it in order to direct it forward. So I have a tiny space because I don't have a huge desk, but I am going to I'm going to move my computer. That's what I'm going to do. So I am at my desk right here, and then once I'm going to pull and share each card, and then once I'm complete, I will share the view, the full view. All right. That is a quick and dirty trick that a good friend once shared with me, which was how to eat the quick and easy way to ground yourself is to look at each corner in the room. All right, let's get this party started. All right. I'm laying out the cards right now in the Celtic Cross spread. Because I have a very small desk and I'm a bit of a messy one, I am attempting to do this without pushing too much stuff out of the way. Well, I do need to push stuff out. I actually still have some tarot cards from the last tarot reading that I haven't put away from what ended up being Ali in the Tower, which, if you don't know, that was a very apropos reading as well when it comes to dreams, success, how we define success. All right, here we go. So, the first card in the Celtic cross spread represents the querent. And in this case, the querent truly is the crowdfund, but partially me too. And it's the lovers. So, my understanding of the lovers is as you can see, there's two humans and an angel between them. There's with looks like Adam and Eve is kind of the vibe going here because you can kind of see the snake in the tree with the tree of knowledge right behind the woman or the femme bodied person and a burning tree behind the male, which actually means that it's not necessarily Adam, but rather it's the burning bush, right? So the story of man, like obviously there's a lot of biblical symbolism to this, and it's useful to know. But it's interesting that this is how it's not Adam and Eve. It's a bigger spiritual question. It's about knowledge. It's about connection to the divine, and you know, the divine is pictured here as this non-gendered angel being. The Lover's card is not necessarily always about love. From what I understand from this, if this query is this it is a desire to be connected to all parts of self. This crowdfund, the story that is being developed here, is about if we were to talk about this as a story, it's I'm trying to connect to my community because I feel like there is something I desire with my community um, that is a sustainable and reciprocal relationship of support, of offering stories that are desired and needed in this time and being sustained and supported financially in this case through a crowdfund, but also knowing that I am having an impact and that I am valued and that my labor is valued. So I think this is an appropriate symbol for the query itself of what is desired and what how and the representation of all parts of myself, but also all parts of the work that is being done with the crowdfund right now. So the next card is one that crosses it. So you see the query, and there's a card that lays across that crosses it. And I definitely okay. Usually, I'm pretty careful to never pull something that I rarely pull, upside down cards or reverse cards, but it is judgment reversed. So, what what crosses or what challenges this whole thing is a delayed judgment, a delayed potential, a delayed fulfillment of 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 the campaign, or the fear of delayed judgment. So, right side up, the judgment card is, pretty clear. And so it's interesting because it's the same it seems like it's the same angel, right? With those wings, calling up people, right? And it seems like there's a clear communication of the time is nigh, right? The end is nigh. But it's also the judgment card usually comes forward in that you will get a clear answer. There's something so what is crossing this is kind of a lack of a clear answer of where this crowdfund is going, where it's headed to. That's my interpretation. You might have something different. And if you do have something different, please share in the chat. So the next card that I pull is below it, and it means what is supporting the run of this crowdfund. And that is the Queen of Cups. So the Queen of Cups is a figure, or it can be an archetype, it can be a person uh, in anybody's lives, but in this kind of abstract calling towards a crowdfund, I think it is what I'm getting a sense of, and is just this emotion. It's emotional support. It's understanding that um, when I recently did the video where I talked about and joked around that y'all are uh, screwing around with my marketing campaign, but it triggered a lot of gratitude and gratefulness for me. There's this sense of um, really affection and support that I've been getting, and I think that this overflow of shared joy that I've sensed from people who've been really supporting this campaign so far. And I think but that's what sustains a lot of us when we're working hard at something, or seeking a goal, is having that emotional support. And that, I think, the crowdfund has received, not just emotional but financial support, and for that I'm really grateful. So next I'll go to the one that's directly above the querent and the cross, which is what is what what we're aiming towards. And Um, Maybe this is a little off-putting, but, it is the 7 of Swords, and it's interesting because it looks like this person's, is running, grabbing stuff and just grabbing and going, and that's the sense of Seven of Swords, and potentially, like, in such a rush to do so is leaving something behind. And it's interesting because, in a sense, this crowdfund is getting that initial, momentum for the work of, Project Borderless, the pseudonym of this mystery, podcast that I will be, sharing more details about in the future, and that I shared a bit of a teaser, a while back. But this being in the part of, like, the aspirational is, like, what this is meant to be going towards, is interesting because there's also the negative side of, like, I feel like many people who ask for money in any case, uh, who has my issues around doing a crowd fund, which is taking the money and run. No, this is definitely provoking that part of me, that fear, is that there's a part of this aspiration that is true, that this is meant to get momentum to move forward, but that there is a fear, a sense that we might be leaving something behind. Now, what that is, I'm not entirely sure. Well, maybe further cards will give us more information. So the next two cards that I pull is one's the past and the other's the future, or immediate past and immediate future. So immediate past is the magician, which it does feel like there's been a lot of I've been working a lot of magic. There's been a lot of magic involved in this. There's been a lot of tarot reading type stuff. I've talked to people about the importance of storytelling in a spiritual sense and in a craft sense. So the magician is meant to be to showcase a person who's an incredible master of their skills. And to be honest, I do try to portray that. I try to live that as a storyteller who's been doing this for years. And at the same time, I'll be totally honest, I'm still developing those skill sets. But this crowdfund is meant to show what it would be like to have a master of their craft at storytelling be a part of their community, and what that looks like, what that truly looks like, and what that process looks like. And I hope I have been clear in that this is part of driving and embodying the work of a crowdfund, a crowd-sourced, sustainability project, if you will. So the next is the future, immediate future, and that is the Ace of Cups. So there's a lot of the touchy-feely stuff around here. So I think we might get some, but this specifically is like new. It's meant to be something new. There's a new source of emotional fulfillment, emotional support, of connection with people. Cups and water have that. It's that touchy-feely. It has to do with emotions, but it also has to do with connection and mediums in which people talk to and connect with each other, relationships. So this might also mean there's a new touch point in relationship that this crowdfund develops. Not necessarily romantic, but like, because again, talking a lot about community, that this is maybe a new infusion um, of connection with community, which, all right, cool. All right, so the next, there's four cards remaining, and there's the first card is the how the crowdfund sees itself, like the image of itself. So not necessarily the aspirational, like we saw with the Seven of Swords, but really like the like self image, like how the crowdfund sees itself. When I was just talking about how I was worried that I was going to pull all these cards that symbolize like poverty. Um, the five of This is the Five of Pentacles. which is literally the card I was imagining being pulled. So I think I may have manifested this card in the self image of like, oh, poor me. I'm like, so sick and tired and don't have enough money. Um, and I feel impoverished. However, uh, this is meant to not necessarily be a literal translation, but a metaphorical one. If you notice, these people are, kind of struggling, but there is a brightness right on the other side of that window. It feels warm and inviting, and there's no sense that they're not being kept. One of the assumptions here is that it's a prison of your own making. It's literally, this is the card for scarcity mentality. And I think that's important for information for me, is making sure that while I run this campaign is to be careful of falling into or using narratives that evoke this scarcity mentality. And one thing that I've been curious about, not just about this particular campaign, but other conversations around supporting creatives and resources for creatives, is that what if we did away with the starving artist metaphor entirely in our culture? What if that is a false um, metaphor imposed upon us in order to control the culture? What if we did have enough resources to support our artists in our communities? What if our artists, including myself, believed that there were resources that we truly can do the labor, do the work and creative work, and there are resources there that already exist to support us? That's something that I'm struggling with, and I know a lot of other people are too, but I think it is important to note within the context of a crowdfund to examine that perspective. So the next card is about how the community sees this crowdfund. So this is you all, how you all collectively see what I'm doing here. And this is interesting because speaking of that, this is Six of Pentacles, which is literally it looks like it's almost like the same people, right, that are now receiving money. So, however, I think there's a couple of ways to sorry, that's my cat, Sancho. Um, to interpret this, because you notice that the man is giving money to only one and not the other, and is holding a set of scales. This idea of balance, right? It's also in the Justice card is this set of scales. And I think maybe what there's a couple of things that are popping into my head. One is and it's something that I want to be careful to dance around it, but I think being honest about this is also important, because our society is so um, money is so wrought, conversations around money, and especially giving money to artists in this sense of crowdfund is also fraught. So I want to make that explicit here, that it feels like if it feels like you're just offering money to the poor, that it seems like if the sense of like, if you feel sorry for, or you feel like there isn't enough going around, if that's the perception, then I think something needs to change, because if yeah, again, that's the relationship needs to be renewed. If in the future, the near future, if the Ace of Cups, if this is telling me, if these two cards of like the how this crowdfund sees itself and how the external people sees this crowdfund, that's not the point of a storytelling crowdfund. The storytelling crowdfund is meant to create momentum not from a position of impoverishment, but rather that the work has already been done. The value has already started to be created. This is meant to create more space and time to develop and eventually produce Project Borderless. So yeah, that's a sticky situation. How can you divorce a lack of something from um, a desire to simply have enough or more to create something? I don't know. That's a very esoteric way to put it, but there's something about this relationship that I think might need a different perspective, and I probably should look at that. So let's go to the one that is always a pain to pull, which is the what. Let's hold on a second. I think I have making sure my headphones are okay. Got a little bit left, a little bit of juice. I forgot that. Do. Speaking of impoverishment, my poor AirPods were not charged properly. My bad. And here I am stalling for the next card. The next next card is the second to last card, which is what is most feared and what is both most feared and both most desired. It is a shadow of itself. So let us see. The Ace of Swords. Now this is interesting because the Swords card has to do with mentality. It has to do. It's also it symbolizes the element of air and quick-wittedness, mental capacity exertion, and creativity. Something about this for me actually feels like there's a fear of something, of a truth, of a new truth being exposed through this crowdfund, and also a desire for something new. An ace, it's always ace has have to do with new something, new whatever. That's like the ace of cups is new relationship, new emotions. Ace of swords is new ideas, new perspectives. And so if this is the fear and the desire, I have to wonder if there is something that we're all afraid of. This crowdfund is experimental. I'm creating it on my own website. I am not fully doing it just for Project Borderless. I haven't done an itemized list, and I've been clear on that of what that this is meant for supporting the professional the pre-production development of this story, including my writing, editing, and work with other creatives on developing it. And it's also formatted in a way like there's only 3 levels. The reason why I wanted to do this differently is I wanted to see how there could be other ways in to seek out sustainability in creative work, where there's not a million different like crowdfund levels that you need to fulfill, and at the same time giving an opportunity to use your own platform, to not like allow other platforms like Indiegogo to take a cut out of out of out of your crowdfund, that it is a more direct exchange. So this is a experiment, for at least for me, is an experimental crowdfund, and I'm already starting to get new ideas out of it, and my hope is that it also encourages other people to also seek out new ideas for their own crowdfunds, for their own financial investment and support of their own creative projects. So that is both the desire and the fear. We're always afraid of something new, I guess. All right. So the last card, maybe the last card, I'll check, is the outcome. how things are going now, if things continue on the way that they are continuing on, is the star. And the star is hope. I know that this is a time, especially during these strikes, and especially during a time where everyone is really suffering financially, with inflation, with layoffs, and the question of whether or not storytelling as work is worth it. This is exactly this is exactly the kind of message I want to receive, and I want you all to receive, is that there is hope, that that curiosity of whether or not there is a source, there is something that where we are we are binding ourselves from each other, that the star represents that there is enough for everyone, that there's enough, and that the sources can come from anywhere. There is hope. Sorry, I'm getting a little. So the last bit here is I just I always look at the bottom of the deck to see if there is another major arcana. Usually means that there's another message, and the one there it was the Hierophant. Hierophant is has to do with spiritual authority, um, and it's interesting because this has come up in some of my own personal readings, and it's interesting because I think this is a message of sticking to the structure, that so it's something that I've been wondering about, whether or not the structure of this crowdfund, if I need to change it, if I need to keep tweaking stuff and experiment with it. It's interesting. This is answering the question of, like, stay the course. The structure is sound, and yeah. All right. Let's see if there's one more. My good God. All right. I will. There's one more, and that is the Hanged Man. I think this is an re-emphasizing the Ace of Swords here, is that we all need some new perspectives, which and potentially we need to sacrifice something in order to achieve that knowledge. This crowdfund is a an interesting one for me after having done a couple different types of crowdfunds. Um, and I think I think this is also telling me I'm going to have to sacrifice something to get out of this perspective, that this dynamic is not a good one to perpetuate if we want a new models of storytelling and creative work and creative community. That is something I do believe, but I will be totally honest, and I think other people feel this way too. I don't know how. I don't know how. How do we break this cycle? How do we break this dynamic, um, when it comes to creative work? Because it is, it's not helpful, and it's self defeating. And at the same time, there's better ways. There has to be. There has to be. And if if the Hierophant and the star is telling us to keep hope, and the Hierophant's telling us to stay the course, that the course, at least for this crowdfund, is where you need to go, but there's something that needs to that needs to be let go of and sacrifice. And I think this is a message for me that I need to get additional help to figuring out what mindset I need to let go of or break. And I have a personal suspicion, but it might be a little bit of this too. this fear that I'm just taking your money and running, which is hard to voice, but it's something that I think, at least for me, I want to be more. I want to be more. I want to be a good member, good citizen, and good steward of storytelling. I feel like I have to keep checking myself for that, especially in this type of context, even though I truly believe in what I am doing. And I know many of you are also know I know many of you are also I can't even say this. I also know many of you also believe in what I'm doing. Knowledge and feeling, knowledge and knowledge and feeling are often two very different things. So, with that, this has been a long and kind of messy crowdfund campaign tarot reading. But I'm going to organize this so you can actually see the spread here. And I will ask you not to judge my messy desk, because it is what it is, right? I have a very short desk, so let's see here. There it is. All right. I want to thank you all for watching, and yeah, if you have your own interpretations, I am curious to see how what comes up for you. Either way, for those of you who have already contributed to the crowdfund, I am very grateful. And I've said this in a couple other spaces, but I hope I do you proud and that the work that I do connects with you. And yeah, so if you haven't, please check out the 2023 Storytelling Crowdfund. It is on the stormfrontproductions.com page. Take care, everyone, and enjoy your week. And we'll be continuing this through Halloween.